still working?
I think it's live now. Yeah, and it's funny because I couldn't hear your tumble dryer. Now I can.
2 seconds then.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Britball with the Breens.
Unbelievable start. Unbelievable.
Says, can you hear my tumble dryer?
Can you hear my tumble dryer before I go live? No. Can't hear tumble dryer over here. And literally as soon as it goes live, hey, I can hear your tumble dryer. I just can't rely on anybody these days. Absolutely outrageous.
The weirdest thing is I couldn't actually hear it. I couldn't hear it at all. And then as soon as it went live, I was like, actually, I can hear your tumble dryer.
Yeah, well, there we go. It's off now anyway. Hello, welcome along to week 9. It's preview.
Is it week 9?
Yeah, I know. Like, I was looking back and I was like, it can't be week 9 because we did a show a couple of weeks ago and that was week 5, but actually that was apparently week 6. I didn't know. So so it's week 9 of Britball season. We're really starting to get into sort of like kind of the business end of the season, but a lot of by this point the teams that are likely to be winning divisions and going to playoffs and the teams that are likely to be getting relegated is starting to become a heck of a lot clearer. We're kind of getting to that point where these things are starting to separate themselves out. We know who's certainly we know who's likely going down from the upper divisions as well. So,
yeah, somebody already knows in the comments exactly what we're going to say.
See, they're not opening up for me for some reason.
Oh, can you not see it?
But yeah, no, I can't see it for some reason. It's not coming up. Technology issues. There we go. Best week of the year. Time to chuckle at It's funny you should mention that.
Aware.
I can't. I mean,
you've gone silent. There you go.
I mean, I can't possibly figure out what you could be meaning. It's not something we have ever talked about ever. I just don't know where you're coming from. I just don't get it at all.
It's something we'll get onto as we go through the fixtures. We'll get onto it as we go through the fixtures because there is some teams that me and Chris have already been messaging about going, oh, here we go. But yeah, it always happens. It's just happening earlier in the year this year because they've moved the transfer deadline forward, which, as I say, I was really happy with, but they should still move it forward even further. It should be the first or second week in May, and that should be it. Like, you shouldn't be getting this much chance to see who is potentially a best team.
I think it should. I think
move.
Once the season kind of kicks off, there should have to be.
For starters, Chris, you are really, really jerky again. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like, it should have to take
issues, but I'm really choppy feedback from you.
Yeah, it should have. You're having serious issues on your side.
Apparently, yeah.
Have you got your phone and all that off?
I'm a way to put
Get
it all
off
off,
the Wi-Fi.
But I don't know. It actually is. My Wi-Fi is normally quite good. I don't know what's going on, but
it's better now.
We'll make do.
You're better now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's saying it's lost connection again.
No, you're fine.
Okay. No, as I say, like it's one of those. It should be by the time the first week of the season kicks off, unless there's any sort of extenuating circumstances. Like the head coach kicked my dog. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You've got every right to move to a different team. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's one of those we kind of see every year about whenever the transfer portal closes. There's players that jump ship to teams that look in good positions, regardless of division. But yeah, we will touch on that when we get to it. So as we're going into week 9, there's a few good games this week. There's some absolute stinkers as well, I think. yeah, so before the last time we came on, obviously since then I was I went to the double header between the East Kent Mavericks and the London Blitz B, and then the London Blitz, the London Blitz game against the Hertfordshire Cheetahs, and the first game was extraordinarily entertaining, and the second game was bloody awful. I think the second game had 8 turnovers in it. 8 turnovers, and 6 or 7 of them were interceptions or something. It was really poor quality, to be quite frank. Don't get me wrong, the defense from the Cheetahs were unreal. They played so well. A couple of really ridiculous interceptions. But yeah, overall quite a disappointing game that one was. And nobody in the comments was saying "boo, get off a commentary," so I'm taking that as a win. They might have been thinking it, but nobody seemed to say it in the comments.
Are any of those teams playing this week?
The Cheetahs are playing the Warriors. No, is it?
Is the Blitz playing?
The Cheetahs are playing the Aztecs. That's what it is.
Are the Blitz playing?
I'm not 100% sure.
Because if they're not, I want to mention something that just popped up in the commentary when you were speaking. And this is obviously, years gone by, one of the best teams in the country, right? Clearly one of the best teams in the country over the last 20 years or whatever. It just a message from me from watching the game and from you, for something that you guys put on in saying is that if you only run under center, teams will notice, right? Like, this is something you said on your thing, right? This is one of the best teams in the country. I hate to tell you this, but as a Premiership team, if every time you go under center you run, people will notice really fast.
It's not
Division 2 coaches will notice that. Never mind Prem. You have to have something different than that, surely.
My issue with it was, and I'm pretty sure it came through in commentary because I was about throwing myself off the balcony by the end of it. It's not that these teams are exclusively running the ball from under center. It's that all the teams were playing from pistol and gun, and then for some unexplained reason, for like 2 plays went under center, and I'm like, well, you're obviously running the football. Like, if you've only got like 1 or 2 plays where you randomly go under center, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it.
Yeah,
and they did, and that's what they did. They kept just like these things kept happening. The teams went under center and they just ran the ball, and I was like, oh, real creative there. Not like I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Now, from that point of view, right, is if you're going to run out of pistol, granted, it is better to run the ball under center, right? It's quicker. You can get folk going, but if you're going to run the rest of your playbook out of pistol, you can't do that.
No,
it's a massive tell, right?
And I think that was one of the things that really stood out for me that I was quite disappointed about, because obviously that's the first time I've been able to go and sit and watch a Premier Division game, right? I think that stuck out to me is quite a disappointing factor, but like the clock management was so poor as well. And I get, like, I kind of tried to explain on the stream that obviously with the way things work, we don't have like a play clock and a game clock in the arenas, so we're more often than not relying on checking in with the officials that are giving us updates every couple of minutes or whatever. I get that side of things, but a lot of what we're seeing was like, and I think it was maybe in the Blitz B game in particular, they were down by 2 scores, I think, and the 2-minute warning had passed, and they were still like running the ball. And I'm like, I get that's what you do, but you need to at least try to do something. I think like there was a few things like that, and I was just a bit like, I was quite taken aback because I don't know. I keep hearing how terrible Div 2 ball is, and then I've seen some of this stuff and just thought, how is this happening in the Premier Division? Well, and like, it's no wonder that you're seeing teams like the Warriors, hang 60 on other Premier Division teams when that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, and one thing that I find really interesting, and Hertfordshire are probably the reason that I think this right now, is that Hertfordshire won Division 2, 2018, right? They've managed to go up compete in Division 1 for a few seasons, win Division 1 and move up to the Prem, and other than getting handily beaten by the Warriors, are handling themselves, right?
Yeah.
Now, in my mind, that shows a really poor lack of depth from the league as a whole, or the fact that the Cheetahs have gone and every level have got better and better. But I'll be honest, from what I watched in that game and from what you were commentating, I just don't think that's the case. I genuinely don't think that there is such a massive gap between the divisions other than the top teams. So obviously the London Warriors, Aztecs, Manchester Titans, realistically are the three teams that you think, right, okay, you boys are probably a step above the rest now. And that's slightly concerning in the fact that what someone's commented about the ring chasers and all this kind of stuff is that there seems to be so much of that goes on every year, and we've said it for years, and the transfer window place doesn't help. That is it that poor a level beyond those three teams? Is it that poor? Because I'll be honest and say that some of the scores I see come in on a week basis, I'm like, how has that happened?
Yeah.
You know, what's going on here that's got, and we'll probably come to this later about forfeits and stuff like that. Is that some team, this is like a year turnaround, less than a year. Folk are going from being exceptional teams to crap, and I know that some of it is probably to do with folk transferring away, or folk finally win a ring and they decide they don't want to play anymore. That happens a lot as well. But between after the top three, the divisions just seem to fall off a cliff. And even the top teams in Division 1, we've seen them compete against each other, compete against teams that went up to the Prem last year. Now, Hertfordshire and the Vikings have both done well in the Prem this year. You know, I've not said the Vikings yet because it's early on, but you're still, to me, there's three teams that are way above the rest. Vikings might get there, but Vikings and Hertfordshire have both gone up and they're doing really well. And you're saying to yourself, well, there's a couple of teams in Division 1 that may be the same kind of level as them, and then after that, it just drops off a cliff again. It seems a bit weird.
I think what you're also seeing is, and this is just my opinion on it, but like when you see like the Titans playing a team in Europe, and the Titans are a good football team, but like you see the gap between them and the best teams in Europe. And to me, a lot of this, it kind of tells, because then you look at the gap between like them and the Warriors, for example, and the Aztecs and the rest, and you think, well, I mean, they're not playing the best competition every week.
No.
And I like, please don't, I don't want to take them away, because I thought the Cheetahs defense played a really good game. But I mean, offensively, and I think I don't know how much attention any of the Cheetahs guys pay to me, but obviously I speak a lot with Coach Barnes, who's their defensive coordinator, and pretty much every week I was saying, guys, like, you need to sort the offense out and sort the quarterback position out or whatever, you know, to kind of really push on. And we kind of always had a laugh about it. And I was sitting there going, I might be a way to get absolute pelters here if they go out and absolutely dominate this game. And then their quarterback missed like 3 screen wheels for wide open touchdowns. And I was just like, no, I'm not. It's just, yeah, it was, I was quite uninspired by what I've seen. And if this is what, you know, effectively killing Div 2 is how it's improving the game, then it seems to be pretty evident that it's not. But that's just my opinion. Dar, I don't know if the Titans took their full team, but I think, you know, there's that element to it. But you are still seeing that there's a gap, right? There is a big gap. And that's with these European teams having lost players to the ELF. Now, I know some of the UK teams have as well, but there's obviously elements of some of the best teams in Europe that are losing their players to the ELF. So, you know, you just wonder kind of how do you bring that level up? Because, as I say, there's like now we had, say, 4 teams, and it was the Blitz, the Warriors, the Phoenix and the Titans, and now we're down to 3 teams, and just there does seem to be a big drop off after those 3 to the rest of them. I think that seeing that in person was almost quite shocking for me, to be honest.
Yeah, we can well imagine. But I'd say I watched it and I was listening to some of your commentary, and I'm looking at it thinking, because we've, as you said, we've watched games on live, but we've never watched a Prem game actually taking place like live. We've never commentated on it before, and from what I got from your from some of your commentary there, I just seen that comment come in. But what I got from some of your commentary there was that it didn't seem hugely prepared, if anything, to change when it got difficult.
I know there's been a lot of issues with the blitz off the field this year, but I'll tell you one thing that really, really shocked me was, I was there nice and early for the D1 game. The teams were out in full kit on the sideline, warming up as a unit, ready to go. The coaches were running things. Talk about the Mavericks, for example, and the positional groups were doing what they were supposed to. The coaches were all of the playing control of everything. It was all ready to go. And then when it kind of got to the Prem game, especially the blitz sideline, we're just sort of standing there lulling about, not really doing anything, and it translated straight into the game. They weren't up for it. From the very first kickoff, they just were not up for it. And I found that really telling, because there was just sort of no urgency, no sort of drive. And I would probably say, from the Cheetahs standpoint, for them having potentially a slow start on offense was because they went out onto the field, and then the most bizarre downpour of heavy rain came in and then disappeared just as quickly. So they might have been a bit chilly, a bit cold when the game kicked off. But yeah, I just generally thought the lack of urgency on the field pre-game was really poor.
Yeah, certainly interesting.
Yeah, but it was an interesting one for me. And as I say, I didn't see any comments saying, "Boo, get the hell out of there. We can't understand your accent." So I'm taking that as a win. I'd love to do it again. It was good fun, but yeah. Anyway, we will crack on with this week's games and not dwell too much on the past. So I will try and share the screen, but it's probably going to break my computer to do it.
You're showing really weird to me. I don't know if it's showing the same to you. Ah, there we go. It's still, your screen's still awful small.
Yeah, I don't know. That's worse.
I don't know why it's not filling the full screen.
I don't know.
It usually does.
Oh, I know exactly why.
There you go. Someone's twigged in your head.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to let me. Oh, I can't change it now. It's because I'm apparently set to mobile. That's what's going on here.
No, you can't change it.
No, it says you can't change it while you're live.
Ah, well.
Which seems a bit bizarre. Anywho, so we have this week the same 3 fallen teams: the Crew Railroaders, the Aberdeen Roughnecks, the Maidstone Pumas, Southeast Squadron. And this week we have a new addition to the broken and safety section this week. Last time we were on, it was the London Hornets, and this week, in kind of almost an inevitable feel, it's the Norwich Devils, Sean's predicted division winners.
I think broken safety has been very kind. I think this scumbag section should be full. Right. Again, I do not get this whatsoever. This is one thing about Britball that always boggles my mind. How do you go from being in the semi-finals of the playoffs one year to being forfeiting games against good teams the next year? I understand. We are from Aberdeen. We can quite understand what one person can do to a team, right? We can understand what that happens. Like, Aberdeen aren't competing this year because of the effects of a person at the team, and it has had a prolonged effect over a couple of years. I just don't understand it. How do you go from being in the semi-finals, the playoffs, to get to not even competing against a team because they look like they're one of the better teams in the division? It's not even 8 months from the end of the season. It's crazy.
Yeah,
to me.
It is. It's crazy, and I'm not really sure how it happens, to be honest. But yeah, it does. It had an air of inevitability about it. This one, we kind of felt like it was only a matter of time, and lo and behold, it's against the team that are in first place in the division, and they can't play. They don't have enough players, so it's always a difficult one because you don't know I'm sure there's a group of people within that team that want to go ahead and play the game, but you'll definitely get a group of players that are like, "Oh no, I'm not available that game" or whatever because they don't want to play in it, which is quite sad to see. But yeah, I mean,
Is it one forfeit you get a yellow? Or is it one forfeit you're down now?
Just think about it as yellow-red card. So the yellow card is demoted, and then red card is out the league to associate.
Okay. So yeah, basically they're going to take a demotion. And what
that's what I'm saying. They're already relegated now.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
they
what
were
you're
going
to see, and what you're going to see is next year all of a sudden they'll be good again. It's happens time and time again. And we're going to come on to that later in a team in here as well. But
I mean,
it says
there's a
comment
there
there
saying all
saying,
the Americans left, but like, if you had a squad of like 55, how many of them were actually Americans? Like, I don't understand it. You know what I mean? But yeah, we knew it was coming, and it's, as always, it's against the best team in the division or the team ranked at the top of the division that teams can't field enough players against. But I digress. Moving on to our game of the week, we have the battle for Scotland. We have the East Kilbride Pirates and the Edinburgh Wolves. This is always a big game. These two teams have had a long-standing rivalry now. However, the Pirates starting quarterback broke his collarbone in the last game and is out for the rest of the season. We have no idea who's going to be starting as a quarterback going into the game. We know one person that had, and if he's starting, it's probably going to be an annihilation. But we're not 100% sure. But how do you think this one's going to pan out, Sean?
well, yeah, you see, this is the whole thing. So, from my latest knowledge of East Kilbride is they do have a big squad. However, they used to have a quarterback that would come in, and he actually replaced Neil Baptiste at one point, and then halfway through the season they changed over. But I don't know if he's still there, and if he isn't still there, I have no idea who their next choice is, which could have a massive impact. Now, rumors coming out of Edinburgh is that their amazing linebacker core isn't the same. One of them's moved different side of the ball, and I think that was evident in some of the games that they've come up so far. They've let up a load of points. However, it is at East Kilbride. Edinburgh isn't horrendously far away, so it shouldn't be a problem for the Trek. But no matter how the teams are doing as their own stand at the moment, when you come to this game, this is for you to be able to say, well, we're the best team in Scotland. Right? It has been for a while. It's your chance to come out and say, well, no, we are the best team in Scotland. Now, the Wolves have won that last couple of years, because obviously the Pirates were in Division 1, and then last year the Wolves beat the Pirates. So the Wolves have got to lose. Now, as I say, the Pirates' biggest question is quarterback. If they don't have a backup to Neil Baptiste that is of a decent level, then the Wolves might rip them to bits. But there's no way we couldn't make this game of the week, because every game, well, between these guys is close. It's tough. And I think that, for me, I think that the Wolves will win this, but I think because it's on the road, it'll be very, very close.
Yeah, and I think, I've got players from Aberdeen that are going to be on both sides of this game. Actually, I think we've got 3 on the Pirates and 1 on the Wolves. So it's certainly an interesting matchup to watch from that standpoint. As you say, the quarterback's a big question here, and you'd think if they'd found somebody, even sort of on that level with Baptiste, we might have seen them a bit more. But so I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do this week. But but it's still the battle. It's going to be a defensive slugfest. I think it's still the battle for the top team in Scotland. Although the British American Football Association did not select this as one of their games to watch this week, but yeah, I'll let you decide what you want about that. But yeah, so it's always a big matchup between these two. It's always physical. It's always an interesting game. But I do think the Wolves will probably win this given the quarterback situation.
Yeah, it'd certainly be a close game anyway, I would think. I'd be very surprised if it was a one-sided match.
Yeah. And then we go on to the rest of the Premiership North, who are featuring this week. So we have the Merseyside Nighthawks against the Manchester Titans, and the Titans are going to win it in a landslide. It's Merseyside are the team that are going down, right? So yeah, I don't see anyone winning this other than the Titans at a canter.
Merseyside is what we're going to need this weekend, I think. And this is without Sam. So Sam's obviously injured. I know he's probably working his way back to fitness, but they're not going to play him here if he's any risk, are they?
No.
They just hung 70 points on them or something.
Yeah.
I think realistically, again, Merseyside are probably in the case of just don't forfeit any games, take your relegation as a normal team, and then come back in Division 1 and rebuild your squad, and that's likely to happen. But yeah, this is not going to be a fun weekend for them.
No, it is not. The other game, also in the Premiership North, we have the Tamworth Phoenix against the Newcastle Vikings. I guess normally we'd probably be building this up as a really cracking game to watch, and I do think it'll be quite tight, but I don't know, there just doesn't seem to be that spark about Tamworth this year.
No, I guess the only thing is that the Vikings didn't, in their latest outing away from home, they didn't put up an awful lot of points. Don't get me wrong, I think they kept their opponents to 0. Oh, look, here you go. Here's some EKP answers. So I don't know how good they are going to be on the road. That's my only concern. Are they going to be as good on the road? But I don't think Tamworth are anywhere near the team they were.
No.
Not even close. So I think I'm going to have to side with the Vikings here to get a bit of a good away victory here. There you go, Chris. You can explain to the crowd what's going on in the background.
I would share the comment that the last time I did that, it freaked my whole computer out. So I'll just speak through it. So James has said that EKP's backup quarterback just came back from the States when he played at a D3 college over the last 2 years. So interesting to see how that goes.
That'll really spice things up a bit.
Oh well, exactly. So yeah, it should still be an interesting game. We will see. It's not from the team that literally just came over and played the Pirates a couple of weeks ago. Is it just like, oh, this seems like fun? I'll come over here for a bit.
Play the Wolves and the Pirates. Those are teams from America.
2 different teams, from D3 college in the States. Okay. Well, will be interesting to see on that one. Yeah, with regards to the Phoenix and the Vikings, I think the Vikings have looked really good this year, defensively, offensively. Tamworth, clearly in some sort of rebuild mode at the moment. They're still putting in decent performances against teams like the Wolves and that, but realistically, they aren't the team they were just a couple of years ago.
No.
And yeah, I fully expect the Vikings to get this win even on the road.
Yeah, I agree.
In the Premiership South, we have the London Warriors and the Cambridgeshire Cats. The Cats have also been decent this year, but it is the London Warriors. They've looked pretty untouchable outside of Bristol. I think the Cats will put up points, but I think the Warriors will come away with a win.
Yeah, I think the Warriors kind of look a bit back to themselves so far this season. We were so used to years gone by the Warriors putting 50 on every team, and then maybe having to play a bit for it in the playoffs, and then having a game of it in the final. And then the kind of last 2 years we've not really had so much of that. I think they're kind of back to that this year. They turn up, put 50 on a team, and then leave. I can't see them doing that. I can see them putting 50 on the Cambridgeshire Cats, but I don't see the Cats not putting 20 odd back on them. The way they're playing, and again, the rumours were that some of the players from Norwich have gone there, some of the American players. So it should be a decent game. I would like to think. I'd like to think that be a good one for the neutral to watch. Although I can't see any other result than the Warriors winning this one.
Yeah, no, we're in agreement on that one. Then we have the Hertfordshire Cheetahs versus the Bristol Aztecs. Do you want to take this one?
Well, because the Cheetahs are at home, and they've got that solid defense, it gives them a. They're not going to beat Bristol, right? But it gives them a chance early to not let Bristol score. Don't let them score easy early, right? Give them a hard time so that when it comes to it, you see if they can adjust in the second half or after the first quarter to try and put up points in different ways. If your defense is really solid. Now, at the same time, the one team that have almost beat Warriors this year are Bristol, and Warriors handily beat the Cheetahs. So I expect the Bristol Aztecs to do the same. But again, it's like I hate mentioning soccer ball on the show, and I keep doing it. But when you do it, what did I say? Don't let them score in the first 5 minutes, right? Try and keep the game as tight as possible for as long as possible. And if they're a bigger squad and they're more physical and all that, and it comes through in the second half and they beat you, that's because they're a set-in Premiership team and you're a first-year Premiership team. It's not because you let them score easy peasy. So I think that Bristol win this by a decent margin. I hope that Hertfordshire keep it close for as long as possible.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me from a Hertfordshire standpoint is I believe Bristol will win this game. I believe they'll win it fairly comfortably. But you're talking about, don't let them score early, and it's absolutely bang on as well. But the thing for me is going back to that game against the Blitz a couple of weeks ago, is that they had 3 or 4 very early opportunities to get points on the board and blew every single one of them. You can't do that against Bristol Aztecs. If they get those opportunities, if their defense gets them the ball back early, they need to make these opportunities count. They can't afford to miss layups. But in the end, I think, as you say, best case here is that that defense holds firm and then probably just gets a bit worn down in the second half by this Bristol team.
Yeah, I'd probably agree.
Back north across the border into the NFC 1 Scottish, we have the Clyde Valley Blackhawks against the Inverclyde Goliaths. Now, the Goliaths have kind of established themselves at the top of the division. I believe they've beaten everybody in the division this year. They're putting up points. They're getting turnovers, and I believe it could be the wrong game I'm thinking of, but I think when they played Clyde Valley Blackhawks, a few weeks back, I think they had like 6 turnovers or 7 turnovers. Was it? No, was it last week?
The 2nd of June.
Oh, they played each other 3 times. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I think it was the first time they played them. Or something.
Yeah, the first time they beat them 10-0. So to be fair, 10-0 the first time at home, and then they beat them 16-6 away in the second game.
Yeah.
So it's 2 close games,
And I think that 16-6 game, I think the Blackhawks turned the ball over like 6 times or something. So, I said the same thing on the stream when I was on it. You don't turn the ball over 6 times in a game and win football games. You just don't do it. And, it's a close game, especially given how many times they turn the ball over. So going into this game, they're at home. I'm sure Clyde Valley will be, really looking to try and pull an upset on this one. But I think at this point in time, with where they are in the division, the Goliaths will just be too focused to kind of let it slip.
Is it at Clyde Valley or is it Inverclyde?
I believe it's at Clyde Valley. That's how I've written it down, but I've been wrong about these things before.
Yeah, I think this. We obviously were involved with Clyde Valley for a bit, and one of the things that we're trying to get through them is that when you're creating a play style, if you just call off script, you just end up you'll maybe still beat the crap teams, but you won't beat the good ones.
Yeah,
and I guess it's something we've always, even when we're playing against them, it's something we'd always said about them is like when you get against the good teams, you can't just throw up for grabs. You just can't do that. And if you do that and you have the turnover 6 times, you won't win games.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. And I think here, if they are at home, And again, they've only lost by 10 points twice, right? So it's not far away. If you're turning the ball over 6 times, 10 points is nothing.
No.
I guess they've got a chance. They're at home, but they need to keep the ball secure. Whatever way the turnovers happen, they have to be sensible with their play calling. Make sure they don't give Inverclyde any opportunity, and we'll see. Now, Inverclyde are top of the division. A little bit of a surprise to me this year, although Glasgow seem to be picking up a bit of steam now. The only thing I would say is that I can't believe Stu Galloway joined the Clyde Valley Blackhawks and never told me. If he's watching, the
Is
hell, Stu?
Is that not like blasphemy of like graphic proportions for an Edinburgh Wolves to join the Clyde Valley Blackhawks?
I can't say. I did both. I can't
I
really
thought
go out after them for that.
it's maybe an old one now because it was quite a while ago, but I specifically remember seeing games between those two and the hatred could be felt from the sideline.
They used to hate each other. I don't know if it's because the Wolves have been out of the division for so long now that it's maybe just not a thing.
Yeah.
But when I was playing for Edinburgh the first time in 2012, it was a hatred. It wasn't even just
you could feel it.
You could,
actually feel it.
And they had that for a couple of years. Now, as I say, I don't know if that exists anymore, but Stu played for Edinburgh for a long time, and he'll make a difference to the Clyde Valley team in one way, shape, or form. So you never know. I'm still going to pick Inverclyde. I think it's going to be, but I think it's going to be very, very close. If Clyde Valley can just focus in on the small things and try not to turn that ball over, they've got every chance of winning this game.
Yeah, for sure. We then venture into the NFC 1 kind of north.
Right. Before you even start, this division, get your shit together. Like,
honestly,
seriously,
man,
right?
like stop.
Listen to this
it.
description.
Stop it. All right.
Let's listen to this, right? Yorkshire beat Scunthorpe, right? Scunthorpe beat Yorkshire.
Yep.
Sheffield beat Chester. Yorkshire beat Sheffield. Chester beat Scunthorpe. Seriously, guys, go to hell. Like, how are we supposed to even remotely pick that any of those games? If you like, there's nobody there that stands out to me and goes, right, you guys are the top dogs in the division. Nobody. Like, it's not even like it's massive victories either. In these games. Now, what I believe is that Scunthorpe kind of threw their win away last week. They were up early and they kind of got to a point where it was Chester have just come back and better in the second half. But nobody is willing to put their stamp on this division and say we're the best team here. So at the moment, as far as I'm aware, Yorkshire are top, but Scunthorpe hold the tiebreak over Yorkshire. And Chester then holds the tiebreaker over Scunthorpe, but Yorkshire haven't played Chester yet. So there's so many dynamics to this division. But seriously, guys, stop it. Like, so one of you is take control and go, this is our division, and let's go out and win it. Now, for this game, if I'm Scunthorpe, I need to take all the anger out from that second half last week on Humber, which is a shame because Humber are a great team, Humber are a lovely team. But Scunthorpe shouldn't be losing this game. It's not far away from Scunthorpe to Humber. They should take a nice strong squad and they should go beat them. But this division's mental, like totally mental.
Yeah, and certainly would be remiss if we didn't obviously mention sort of the passing of coach Rob Lashley from Humber.
Oh, is that online? I wondered what that was.
So, obviously in that our we're obviously thinking about all the people associated to the Humber Warhawks, an absolutely devastating loss as well. So, I'm glad to see they are sort of coming through and playing the game this week as well. But you just wonder how much obviously that's going to impact the guys on the team because it's a big hit for them as well. So
there'll be emotion there.
Yeah,
like there will be, and it's terrible when this happens to anyone. But he was also a very loved person in the team and in Britball. So yeah, condolences go out to the team there this weekend. Yeah, Aaron's on it. Look, don't
predict
this division; it's too difficult.
You're absolutely right, Aaron. Don't predict this division because they're just going to absolutely shaft us whatever way we go. So yeah, we'll just carry on as we are at the moment. Sorry, I was just looking at some as well. Yeah.
Are you looking for a result?
No, there was actually a second person passed away, Chris Bradley, but I couldn't see what team he was associated with.
There'll be two of them in a week.
Yeah, really sad for the game overall. He was definitely a coach, but I'm not 100% sure where he was from. But again, thoughts go out to his teammates, his friends, and his family as well. As for this game, I think, as you say, the Alphas should win it, and I think they will.
Yeah.
Then we have the Yorkshire Rams and the Chester Romans, and I mean, I'll let you take this one because, as we've already pointed out, like this division don't care about us.
Yeah. So this is a tiebreaker situation, right? Because if Chester go out and win this, they then take the top spot in the league, and they have tiebreakers over the Rams and the Alphas, but they don't have a tiebreaker over Sheffield. But Sheffield probably have. Actually, Sheffield haven't played too many games. Well, yeah, they lost 20-0 to Yorkshire, so they wouldn't have a tiebreaker. It's at home, right? For Yorkshire, they clearly are better at home, judging by the results they've had, and Chester, judging by the results they've had, we don't know. Like, they have won 32-6 away, they've lost 3-7 at home, and they've won at home. So it's a massive game in this division, right? Yorkshire win this, they actually put a bit of a stamp on themselves, saying like, we're the top dogs, come and beat us. If Chester win it, they do the same. And just judging by the way that everybody's beating each other, you might get that in the second half of the season as well. And then it's just a total mix up at the end to see who gets what spot. So not conceding many points here and putting up as much as possible is obviously the game. But it's going to be key, I think, for both these teams to do that. For me, because they're at home, I think Yorkshire will win this one. It was another contestant for Game of the Week, based on the form so far. I think Yorkshire will win this one, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, and as I say, like it's been a little bit of a round robin with these teams. Chester have obviously had their struggles, especially offensively compared to what we're used to. Yeah, you do wonder if maybe just the overall standard of this division is a bit lower, and maybe that's why there's these sort of back and forth. But it's good for the game that the teams are always beating each other and so close. Because, as I say, normally by this point in the season, you're going, okay, well that team's beating everyone, and that team's not beating anyone, or whatever. But yeah, I am going to side with the home team. I think I actually think it's going to be a bit of a snooze fest. But yeah, I'm going to back the Yorkshire Rams over the home team here.
Mm-hmm.
On to the NFC 1 Midlands and the Leicester Panthers and the Northant Knights. Now, the Panthers have clearly become sort of the beatdown club of this division this year, which was quite a surprise to me because generally when they went down, they've still had a strong team. But maybe just a sign of kind of how times are going just now with teams. Northants Knights have really struggled after calling us out for being shite and not predicting them to win, which is kind of start par for the course at this point. Right, okay, Chris Bradley, the second person I mentioned, was a coach of the Wolverines. So obviously thoughts with the Wolverines as well. With regards to that, I'd say two in a week in the British American Football Association is really, really bad. So sad to see. Thanks for that, Darren. Appreciate it. As for this game, I think Northants get back to winning ways. I don't think Leicester have really been putting up too much of a fight anywhere, and yeah, it's a chance for Northants to get back on the horse again, or I guess and I think they should win this one.
Yeah. I mean, they won 21-0 in the first game, and that's kind of where the calling out came about. But then they've not fared very well since. But the Panthers have got beat comfortably by most teams, and I mean Shropshire hung 35 on them last weekend. I think that Northern should win this one. Again, it's on the road. You never know. Things happen. But for me, Northern's got to win this one. At least 2 scores.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Perhaps a bit of a surprise package this year. The Shropshire Revolution against the Birmingham Bulls. Take it away.
Yeah, well,
take it away, Ernie.
Yeah, I'm looking through the results here, and yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because the Bulls start off a bit slow, and I actually expect them to be pretty well placed in this division this year. But if you look at Shropshire, they also start off slow. Both teams took a 21 and a 28-0 loss to start their season. Since then, Shropshire have won twice, granted against Northants and against Leicester. And the Wolves have won twice by blowing out the Panthers and then beating the Bulls last weekend. So you're talking this might be a close one. It might be a really good game. And I think Shropshire winning 35-19 last week away from home. It was to Leicester, but they're taking this into playing the Bulls at home. I think that makes a difference. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how far Shropshire is away from Birmingham. I really don't know. So I don't know if it's a long travel, but for me, I'm going to side with Shropshire. I think it's going to be really close. Again, this was another pick for game of the week potential, and I think you're talking 3 to 7 points in it for me.
Yeah, I think it will be a close game, but I do think Shropshire being the home team, they've been decent this year. I think Shropshire win this game, but again, I don't think there's going to be too much to be excited about. I do think it is going to be tight, but I think Shropshire will win at home. Coach Ross, we started the Prem and work our way down from there. So if you're looking for the previews of the Premiership games, once we've come off, you can go back and watch it from the start. If that's what you're looking for. Yeah, so we have that one, and then we go into the SFC 1 East, where we have the East Mavericks Norwich Devils as a walkover.
Just before we go on, Adam's saying there the playoff implications. Yeah, it does.
Well, Shropshire are currently second, so yeah.
Yeah, and Nottingham are first. So Nottingham are the favourites in that division. Currently, Shropshire are second and Birmingham are third. So yeah, there's playoff implications here. I guess it's the first time they've faced off this year, so they'll have to face off again. So it'll give us a vision into who potentially might be the better team. As I say, we've both said we think it'll be really close. And if that's the case, Birmingham might turn the tide when they go home. So we'll see how it comes. It's maybe a bit early in this division for a playoff decider, but yeah, it should give us an idea.
Yeah, for sure. Then we have the Olympians and the Exiles. Olympians have obviously looked good this year. They had the one loss to the Mavs in that 1 point game. I think the Exiles have probably looked third best in this division, right? I'm not sure if that's where they officially stand at the moment. Yes, they stand in third place at 2-2. But I think that's kind of the gap. I think it is the Exiles and the Olympians. The Mavericks and the Olympians at the top, and then a little bit of a gap, and then it's the Exiles. And I think we'll kind of see that this game. I think the only thing now for me is, do the Olympians get distracted by that game against the Mavericks coming up in the near future? But I think the Olympians win this one.
Yeah, I mean, it was close away from home, so there was only one score in it, which was actually a really big surprise to me at the time. Kent, I don't know, Kent beat the Norwich twice. doesn't really say anything. But you've got that game in the middle where they've played the London Olympians at home, and it's been close. Now, again, I always think if you struggle to beat teams away, you're going to struggle to beat them at home. So I think the London Olympians will win this one. I do think maybe 2 scores in it. I don't think it'll be an absolute blowout.
No.
But yeah, the Kent Extras aren't the team they once were. Probably partly due to East Kent Mavericks.
The Mavericks.
Yes, because of the Mavericks. And that's one thing that we've also always said about this in Britball is that if no matter how you see it, if one team comes up and rises up, the other teams in the area will die, or they'll struggle. It always happens. It always has happened. It always will happen. There's absolutely nothing that can be done about it, really. So it's a shame for Kent. They'll go out and they'll give us a game. Let's be honest. But I think the Olympians win this one.
Yeah, and it's one thing I did notice, and before anyone jumps on it, I'm sure some of them were uni players as well. But the one thing I did notice when I was watching the Mavericks was there was more non-Maverick lids than there was Maverick lids. It was it was very stark. There was a lot of like white colored or that lids on the field, and probably more so than there was the Black X Mavericks. I'm going to get like slaughtered for keeping on calling these teams the other one, but never mind.
Yeah, imagine how strong a Kent team would be.
Yeah.
Imagine
the Kent Mavriles.
Yeah.
Or the East Kent Exiles. That would work.
Yeah, that actually does work, yeah.
That actually sounds all right, doesn't it? The Portsmouth Dreadnoughts against the Oxford Saints.
We've got a question first, Chris.
Yeah, Darren.
We know nothing about it.
Cover any of the academy and the youth stuff is that we genuinely don't know a whole lot about it. And we don't want to be sitting here, try to just, especially when it comes to, young players in the country, we don't want to be, potentially damaging that by saying things that we have absolutely no idea about. So, I think there was always a consideration to do it, but we primarily just cover the men's adult game or the mixed adult game, as it were.
I think over the years, we have a lot of people message us, right? Just to give us little bits about their team, and some people give us an update on their recruitment and all that kind of stuff, but we don't get anything from the academy. We can't, we go through social media for the Britball men's teams, adult teams. We've got to stop saying that now. The adult teams in Britball, but realistically, we just don't. We just do this for fun, so we don't really have time to do the academy, and we don't have any people that tell us what's going on in the academy, so we don't really go there. On Aaron's thing there, he's saying the Super Kents or the Mega Kents, or just Clark Kent.
Well, I think I called the matchup in week 1 the battle between a pair of Kents. Yes. There's that one. With regards to the Dreadnoughts and the Saints again, they're the team that are struggling in this division. It's been quite senior teams. You're right, Coach Russ. Thanks for that. I think the Saints have really, really struggled for a few years now, and by hook or by crook have somehow always seemed to stay up in the division.
Well, at this rate, they're going to do it again because the Hornets have already forfeited a game.
Are the Hornets in there? For goodness sake. Right, Hornets are going in the scumbag move section.
I think they have. I think there is a plan to reschedule, but whether that actually happens or not, we know how that goes.
No. Disaster.
So the Saints possibly will stay in this division again due to that.
I mean, they must be so pissed because I swear it's the second year in a row this has happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
I swear it's the second year in a row. But
don't get me wrong, staying in the division is not a bad thing, but yeah, it's the circumstances of staying in the division isn't great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Portsmouth handled them pretty easily last time out. This time it's in Portsmouth. So I expect a similar result from this one.
The Portsmouth have not played the Saints.
Have they not? I thought they played them earlier.
Not judging by the score so far.
Oh, my apologies. I'm wrong on that one.
However, it is interesting. Like, so Portsmouth, kind of after Craig Barnes week 1 saying, "Oh, I think Portsmouth are the guys this year," and well, they're struggling
No,
a
they played
little
them on
bit
the
in
28th
terms.
of April.
Did they?
50-0.
Oh, I haven't got that scoreline. Why is that not coming up? I've only got down to the 28th of April, but it's not showing that score. Maybe my phone. Realistically, yeah, I think Portsmouth will win this one. I'd say Oxford are kind of, it's a shame. They had one season where they were actually very competitive, but I mean, probably because their rookie of the year is now playing a professional team in the ELF, and is an absolute unit and is run a 4-3 or something stupid like that. So I mean, that probably did help that year, but they always turn up. They always play the game. Yeah, you just it's unfortunate that the teams that are potentially the ones that are getting relegated are the ones that shouldn't be because they've forfeited a game. But you know what?
Well,
Saints will go
they
out and give
should
it.
be, but like, yeah.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
going out and see how it go. There you go. They stayed up because of the expansion of SFC1, but they're saying Oxford hasn't changed in a few years. It's so predictable. And as someone were saying about that is that I remember one year we had their GM on here. And we're saying, can you please work on your red zone efficiency, because we watched some highlights and it was just getting the red zone turnover, getting the red
They
zone
turned it
turnover.
over in the red zone multiple times every week, and it actually, like, it hurt my soul every time we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got
it's sad to
Portsmouth
see.
winning this one fairly comfortably.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the case. Now down in Division 2, we have the NFC2 East. We have the Darlingtons against
Right,
the
incoming
prison
rant.
system.
Right. And I know folk think, fine, well, this is against someone person, but it's not. Last year, you deliberately took a loss to go into Division 2. We all seen it. We all knew that game was never getting played again. You deliberately took a loss to go into Division 2, right? Now this year, Division 2 is terrible. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, the depth in it is really poor. This team has every chance of winning Division 2, but realistically, what achievement is it this year? You've said about winning rings. They've just had players transfer from the Newcastle Vikings to go and play for them. We were speaking about ring chasers earlier, right? Who the hell goes from a Premiership team down to Division 2 team just because they know fine well there's absolutely no competition for this team in the division? Like, it's bonkers to me. As I said, last year, in my mind, they deliberately took a loss last year, a forfeit last year, so they could go down to Division 2. If part of your 3-year plan is to deliberately get demoted so you can win Division 2 when there's nobody in it, that's crap. Right? But then players to transfer from a Prem team down to Division 2 team is also crap.
Let's
Right?
not forget that Prem team is going to be a playoff Prem team.
A playoff Prem team. A playoff Prem team, yeah. And the thing is that I know that East Kent had this happen last year, right? They had Prem level players in their team, and look what happened. They won Division 2. Well done. You know, it's such a weird dynamic in the British American football. And again, is the single reason that the transfer deadline should be week 2, right? You cannot tell me that players aren't looking from. They're maybe sitting, you know this, they're maybe sitting on the sidelines in the Prem and they maybe just want to play football, right? Again, tough shit. You made your decision. You made a decision on the team you were going to play for at the start of the season. If you haven't worked hard enough or someone has beat you out your position, you work harder and you just see the season out with that team and then you move to the other team after it. The whole point in the whole problem with the transfer being this late is that players on Division 1 or Division or Prem teams can look at their team and go, you know what? We're not winning shit this year. This team looks really good and they're 30, 40 miles down the road. Let's go join them instead and let's give ourselves a chance to win a division. That is the single biggest issue with Britball and always has been, always will be. Until they move that transfer window forward, that's always going to happen.
I think the thing is, as well, is the thing that is always very telling in these situations is it's never just one player that moves. It's
No.
always a handful of players from the same team that move to one of these teams. And I think that's what really gives off the ring chasing vibes, doesn't it? Like, oh, 6 players have left from one team to go to another team that are 2 divisions below them. Can't imagine what your motivation could possibly be for that situation. Because then if you're going to, like, people make the argument and say, oh, but people...
Well, look, Darren's putting a quote here, right? Saying that BAFA, that basically it was out of their hands, BAFA refused. But why wasn't the game played in the first time?
As usual. Did you not also have a waterlogged pitch when it was bone dry in like 3 days before?
3 weeks before, or 3 days before, or something like that. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's crap. You took a loss with a forfeit when you shouldn't have. Like that's the case. You deliberately took that forfeit, and we all knew at the time. Like we pointed that out on the stream. It was 4 weeks before the end of the season or something. We knew fine well what you were doing, and we pointed it out there. And that's, in my mind, that's never going to change that. That's never going to change that opinion that is what happened. But again, it doesn't even take away from the fact that we're moaning about the transfer here. You should not have players transferring from the Prem to Division 2. It just shouldn't happen. Like you're either wanting to play to be to be in the best team and play at the best level, or you play in another team because you want to participate, which is fine. But you make that decision at the start of the season. You don't make that decision 9 weeks in. That's bonkers. Like that just pisses me right off. And see, loopholes in the system, Ross. That's exactly what it is.
What you hear often is people going, oh, but if they want to go to other teams and there's better coaching at another team. You're not going to tell me that a team that's potentially in playoffs in the Premier Division hasn't got better coaching staff.
No.
So, Darren, it's all right to sit there and say, okay, ignore it, sound, but you've also come on and be like, oh, you've not done your due diligence as usual. It's like, I'm sorry, you've literally never had an opinion on anything we've ever said before. Now it's as usual. Like, I'm sorry, hop on. You know what I
Darlington,
mean?
right? Darlington are not a Division 2 team. We can agree. They were in the playoffs a couple of years ago. They are a decent team, right? But they deliberately took a loss. No one's going to convince me otherwise. And you're right. And Jordan, you're right. Right? To tell us where they could and couldn't play American football, we are not doing that. We aren't doing that. We're saying that once you commit to a team at the start of the season, you should see it out. Right? That is all I'm saying, is that you have between October and March to make your decision on which team you want to play for. Right? So you have 6 months to go scope out 5 different teams if you want to. Making a decision halfway through the season to change to another team because they're doing well is just a shit move. And nobody's going to sit there and say that's not what it is. It is what it is. And you have 6 months to go out and test out as many teams as you want. You could travel the country every week and play for a team in a practice to see if you want to play for them without signing up straight away. You're not going to convince me that 9 weeks into the season, folk aren't jumping ship because they see an opportunity. It happens every year. It's always happened. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to change unless they move the transfer.
And Jordan, I completely agree with that point as well, that you shouldn't have been promoted. And I said that at the time. I completely agree with that. And you're not going to find any argument from me here on that.
No.
There was numerous teams that were put in that position, and it was bullshit as well. So, like, don't think this is just a, we're not just sitting there saying that, oh, it's just specifically you guys. This happens all the time, right? But what we're saying is, like, you're right, you shouldn't have been promoted, but you're not going to tell me, and your point about teams collapsing overnight, okay, but a handful of players coming from a team such as the Newcastle Vikings not collapsing overnight, is it?
No, and Vikings aren't collapsing. If anything, they're on the up. I think it's just, I think it's right. Like, Jordan, you make some good points, right? And you shouldn't have got promoted in the first place, but you proved that there was potential for you guys you were a Division 1 team last year. You fought against some decent teams. You lost to the better ones, which is what happens when you first go into Division 1. But it's always the same, and it's not just Darlington. Darlington are just the team that this year. East Kent did it last year, and there's been numerous teams done it before. Is that my biggest problem is with the transfer deadline? Move the transfer deadline to week 1 or 2. Once you've chosen your team, you should not be able to transfer out of that program until the end of the year, unless it's under significant circumstances to do so, because there's a 35 player limit to get into the league, right? Your team has to prove that they've got 35 players can play in associate status to get into the league in the first place. If you start the season with 35 players and after week 6 or 7 you can still transfer out, how can the league justify that you still have 35 players? Because I almost guarantee you that some of the teams that are losing players will not have that. And what happens is they end up forfeiting games. Whereas if you say to them, well, we've got 35 players at the start of the season, and after week 1, nobody can shift. So it's either you just don't play, which most folk won't do. It's either you just don't play the rest of the season, or this team at least has 35 players for the season and they can try and put up a fight about it. Then you can move at the end of the season. You've got 6 months to go explore. And that is my biggest problem with it. And I'm picking on Darlington's team here because they usually were the last ones to do it. But realistically, this is an ongoing issue. Move the transfer deadline to the start of the season.
There's a team every year.
Yeah, every year.
Normally sort of a Division 2 team, pretty much exclusively. And Coach Russ, with regards to players moving to Norwich, has not really helped them, Phil, has it, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, as for this game itself, I'm not really expecting to see anything different. I think it'll just be kind of a blowout win for this team, really.
I would think so. It should be. Like
Yeah.
I say, they're a Division 1 team, so it should be an easy win.
Yeah, and that's what you expect to see at this point, especially at home. Then we have the NSC2 West. We have the Lee Miners and the Staffordshire Surge. Seen a really good resurgence by the Staffordshire side this year. They still have probably Britball's longest serving player.
You can come back to that comment in a minute.
I'll come back to Aaron. I'll get back to you in a minute. Sorry, it's kind of thrown me off. Lee have been competitive in sort of all the games they've played this year, but this division looks like it's between the Surge and the Steelers.
Yeah, I would think so. I think it is between them.
Even on the road, but I think it's Staffordshire, not like one side of Manchester and Lee's the north of it or something. It's like north and south of Manchester or something. I'm sure someone with better geography from England will be able to correct me on that one. But yeah, so I don't think it's a particularly lengthy trip, and I would expect the Surge to win it.
Yeah, I would think so. I'm just looking at the results here to see where, and Staffordshire seem to be the kind of team to beat at the moment. Sandwell, they beat Sandwell 27-23 at home, which is a pretty good going. And I mean, they thumped Lancashire, and the Lee Miners drew with Lancashire. So if you go by results, it should tell you that Staffordshire should win this one fairly comfortably. They are probably the better team in this division, going through this season. I guess I kind of expected a little bit more from Lee this year. I thought they've kind of been progressing nicely as a team, and I thought they'd kind of keep stepping up. But I can't see them beating Staffordshire this weekend. I think it'll be a comfortable win.
No. And Aaron, as to your comment, you have to show exceptional hardship, even if you physically move. If your journey to your old club is less than Highland to Glasgow or Cornwall to Swindon, it's not too far to travel to your old club. I think that's the point. Like, when I'm saying you need to be able to demonstrate why, you feel you should be able to move. That there has to be like exception or circumstances. I mean, like sort of 2019, I'd have probably fallen into that category, for example. But like there has to be exceptional circumstances in place.
You move house, you move job,
we're literally talking like from one end of the country to the other or something like, obviously like, but it is something like that. And I say it's never seems to be an issue of people going up the way. It's always people coming down the way.
Yeah, someone said earlier actually about uni students. What about uni students? Like, it doesn't really make a difference. Like, uni students, yeah, they can play half a season with one team and then they maybe move a long way away. But again, unless it's a long way away, then.
But even then, from a uni player standpoint, they know where they're going to be.
Yeah.
Over the summer, right? So you either commit to the one where you're at the start of the season, or commit to the one where you're going to be during.
Chris, I can give myself as a perfect example, right? I played for Edinburgh when I started studying, and halfway through the season, I moved back to Aberdeen. I still travel down to Edinburgh every week, and that's a 2-hour travel every week, back and forth. I still did that. So it is about, there is a certain amount of commitment. I don't know if Somerset are playing this week, but they've had a player go to Bristol. Right now, they're obviously close opponents. Why would a starting player for one team leave to go to Bristol right now? Like, give me a good reason.
Don't know.
Would it be because they're 4-0 and they've got a squad of 70 and they've got every chance of winning Division 1? That's number one reason. I say it's especially when they've played each other so many damn times over the last few years. You have every opportunity to go practice for Bristol at the start of the season and make your decision. Then it's the same system. And you see there, if the team you're leaving is 5-0, they wouldn't switch. No, they wouldn't. Simple as. I know I've gone on about this a couple of times, but it really pisses me off because it always happens. Every year there's one team that does this. But because the transfer window's like that, it'll never change. Staffordshire Surge for the win.
Yeah, onto the SFC2. Aaron, you made a point, like another point as well, when we're talking about extenuating circumstances. If, a safeguarding issue, bullied, physical altercation, obviously we're talking about things like that. But, things that are quite apparent in these situations. The Essex Tridents and the Ouse Valley Eagles. I've kind of lost a bit of my touch with this division, to be honest. I think I don't have Ouse Valley.
Well, it's been some. It's probably because there's been some weirdish results in here, right? So let's see. I think this is another weird one. So Ouse Valley have beaten Cornwall twice and got thumped by Essex last time. So, and that was away from home. At home, sorry. So, just judging by that alone, Essex decided after our last thing to find some offense, it would seem. They put 35 points up on Ouse Valley away from home.
Yeah. And I also think that kind of, you're saying, Ouse Valley, is it 2 of their wins came against Cornwall?
Yeah.
So, who was the other team to beat?
No, they've only beat Cornwall.
No, I've got them down here as having 3 wins.
Oh, no, they do have 3 wins. Where's the third one? Oh, Cornwall. I can't even see their third win. It might be the 28th of April that I can't seem to see. I don't know why I can't see them. Some of the comments here. Essex Tridents were busy on deadline day. Even Harry Redknapp was outside.
I can and Ipswich, yeah. So they beat the 2 worst teams in the south, pretty much. So yeah, I'm not exactly expecting them to suddenly whip an upset out of the bag of the Tridents. But yeah, I mean, as I say, the Tridents beat them 35-0 away from home. I expect them to win at home.
Yeah, and I think that Aaron's right. Like, to be fair to Essex, they put up quite a funny stream of posts. It was like Gillette Soccer Saturday transfer deadline day.
I did see those. Yeah.
Again, they're the same. They're going to benefit from another team losing players, and they already merged with Essex Spartans, and they've kind of got this combined team now, which should be fairly strong in that division, in Division 2. And as we've said, their problem has always been scoring points. So going away to East Valley last time and putting up 35, you'd like to think that at home they're going to try and do the same, and see how it pans out. But I expect Essex to win this one handily.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see the same. They've had 2 shutouts this year as well, and I don't see any reason why they would drop this one.
No.
Then we have the SFC2 West. We have the Swindon Storm hosting the Berkshire Renegades.
I'm almost convinced that this one was quite a good game the first time. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, so this one was really close the first time. There was only 7 points in it, and it was at Berkshire. 21-14 to Berkshire there. So this might actually be a close game. If you're going Swindon are at home, they're coming up against Berkshire, who've only beat them by 7 points away. You'd like to think that Swindon are taking confidence in this one. They're going, well, Lucas, us at home this time. We should have a chance of beating this team. This is another team that's another division. It's a bit all over the place because Sussex have beat Berkshire twice, but they lost to Swindon. So Sussex beat Berkshire twice, but lost to Swindon. So it sets up a bit of an interesting one. Colchester are probably the best team in this division. So yeah, this could be a decent game actually. This Sussex have got the tiebreaker over Berkshire, but Swindon I think have the tiebreaker over Sussex. So this might have some impact depending on what goes through here. What you like? Oh god, yeah.
Aaron, the SFC2 West is not all over the place. It's just trash. It's a wheelie bin that's been blown over in the gales.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, since someone from Swindon took to the Sport Ant comments to talk shit, they've now lost back-to-back games, which is justice. It never goes well. Don't do it. All right, just don't do it. It's not a smart move. Berkshire obviously been a bit weird with the losses to Sussex when Sussex lost to Swindon. I don't know how far Berkshire and Swindon are apart, to be quite frank. I don't even really know where Berkshire is. I believe Swindon's on the west coast somewhere.
I just know that it shouldn't be said Berkshire because it's got an E.
Yeah, my dog doesn't bark. You know, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a close game, but I'm still going to back the Renegades. I think they win the game, but I think it's going to be a painful encounter.
Yeah, there you go. About 50 minutes. I know if it's another 21-14, then that's an all right game. That I'm going to pick Swindon. Just I know that they give you grief and that, but
it wasn't me that gave grief, but yeah, they were in the comments. So
yeah, I think it would be really close, but I think I'm going to give this one to Swindon just to edge it.
The thing is, I wouldn't even particularly mind seeing Swindon win it. I just think it would be funny if after somebody talks shit, they then lose 3 on the bounce. It appeals to my grouchy old soul, that kind of shit, to be honest. Just like so we'll wait and see what comes of it. But yeah, that's all the games for this week.
Is that them all this week?
Yeah,
it's quite a quiet week.
Yeah, it is quite a quiet week. There's not a huge amount of games on this week. But yeah, as I say, because there's big chunks, I think, of Division 1 that aren't really playing this week.
Yeah, there is actually. There's quite a lot of missing chunks. The thing is, now, you know what's going to be really interesting, Chris?
Yeah.
Is what happens when the Euros start?
Oh, no.
I'm telling you, like, if England are playing or Scotland are playing, we know for starters, if Celtic and Rangers are playing on the same day that there's a game, that half the squad disappears, right? Or you just don't play on that day. So
yeah.
If Scotland and England are playing, and I'm being really harsh here, and the Welsh, are they in it? Oh no, they're not. Shit, that's even worse. If I made myself like a proper dick there. If the Scottish and English are playing in the Euros, I wonder how it affects Britball. And that's the kind of state of our game, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of state of our game.
I think as well, is it I think is it not maybe Father's Day this Sunday? So you often see teams where like
Oh, you do actually, yeah.
where people are like, oh, I can't make it. It's Father's Day. Piss off. Get on the field and play football. But yeah, so we'll wait and see. The under 19s
we'll give
for
a shout out for
Northants
this
play
one.
the Solent Seahawks at Wellingborough's OGs tomorrow. Yeah, and Aaron's saying as well, I believe there's a 12 p.m. kickoff in Bristol.
Oh, an SFC2 game, is it?
That's a double header, isn't it?
Yeah, let me check. We'll be honest, guys, that although we do this on Sport App, we don't keep an eye on absolutely everything they're doing. Where's the game? Well, they're saying that the London Olympians have got live stream this week.
Is it? Oh, okay.
There must be another one before Aaron's saying about like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Aztecs Cheetahs, isn't it? Well, so it must be. Well, if they're doing that one. Oh, I'm not sure who's playing in the SFC2 on Sport Tank. Oh no, did you see it the other day? Yeah, they're talking about the other one. This weekend it's the London Olympians versus Kent Exiles and Hertfordshire Cheetahs versus Bristol Aztecs live on Sport Tank. I believe they've had a few connection issues in the last couple of weeks, so I think they've managed to fix them.
I believe the Starlink is fixed.
Yeah, I believe it is fixed. So we should get some flawless coverage again, hopefully. There was Rushmore were on last week as well, were they?
Against Portsmouth, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be interesting to see what this week holds for some of these teams. I say I think that it'd be interesting to see how the season turns out once the Euros start as well.
I think, Aaron, that double header you're talking about a week on Sunday is the second game, not the Aztecs against the Warriors.
Which is really interesting because what was there, 4 points or 3 points in the first game?
14-9 or something.
Yeah, so
but it was like 9-0 Bristol until like middle of the fourth or something.
Yeah, so Bristol basically are at home. They have to overturn that 5-point deficit or whatever it was at home to potentially take top spot in the Premiership South, which is one thing that I actually would love to come right. Yes. I've actually love to come true because it's one thing that I did put right, and the rest of it I have totally messed up. Whereas you seem to be on the right lines for a lot of your predictions. Mine's are very hit or miss. For a second season in a row, you seem to be well outperforming me.
Well, with the exception of the London Hornets.
Yes, well, with the exception of the London Hornets. Yeah. Let's see who you've got just while we're on here. So I had Titans and Bristol, so they're okay just now. I had Glasgow, they're still within a shout. The Alphas, that whole division's up mental. The Caesars and the Wembley Stallions, they're okay. Bournemouth Bobcats, I don't think they're in line to win their division, but I think they're still in it. Wait a minute, I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Norwich, who have obviously shit the bed. Not only because I didn't count the Steam. Samwell, they're still top of their division. Ipswich suck, and Berkshire are actually okay. And then you had Manchester and London. Highland Stags are your weak point. Don't know what's happened to them this year.
I did ask and I got no response.
Oh, did you? That's unlike them.
Yeah.
That's another interesting one altogether this year. Is what has happened to them?
Yeah.
So you've had the Stags, and you had Chester, who again, depending on this week, could be top
still
of that
in
division.
it, but
Caesars, Hornets.
Ooh.
Then you've got Bournemouth. So again, we both picked Bournemouth. So they must. I don't think they're out of it, but I think Rushmore are probably the best ones in that division. Olympians, Gateshead. Okay, because again, they've lost a player to the other team we're speaking about. Samwell, Essex, which again probably a good choice at the moment, and Berkshire. So yeah,
they're thereabouts. Yeah,
they're thereabouts. I think last year you nailed every team except for one. So
I think so. Yeah, I think I got every division winner. Bar
there's
one.
still some time. Here you go. Like, don't worry about the Euros too much. We're good at tournament football. Don't need to watch until knockout games. Yeah, it's I'd say it's just an interesting dynamic. I always feel that when you're watching this stuff, there's always a case in Britball where there are a fair chunk of players that will put that importance before playing. In British American football, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see if it has any effect. I wouldn't expect it to have effect on the playoff bound teams, or the ones that are potentially challenging.
Yeah,
But
I
it
mean,
just might you've seen some bigger scores.
yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to impact some of the Scottish teams because the half that support the one of the arse cheeks don't really like Scotland's team that much, and the other half of the arse cheeks say they're Irish. So I'm not really sure what effect that's going to have.
I
on
hope none of the Glasgow teams are watching you right now. They're going to hate you so much.
Come ahead, man.
Yeah, but if Scotland do win any games, half this nation's going to be steaming.
Yeah. Well, to be quite frank, most of us don't really watch Scotland play that much because we're already depressed enough as it is.
Just watch it from behind a pillow.
Just check the score and go, oh, not again.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's always an interesting dynamic with this sort of thing.
Yeah. So I guess final things for here: change the transfer window to week 1. Number one thing needs to happen in Britball. But no, there is some interesting games this week, and again, we're not on every week this year. Unfortunately, that's my problem because I'm extremely busy. But the shows we are doing, we're trying to get as much out as we can. Again, we'll put this out. If you have any information, feel free to message us. A lot of people do just message us randomly, just to say, "Oh, here's how things are going." We do watch the socials as much as we can to see what things are going on, but we can't track everything, so we can only do what we know. Is that your dog?
No, it's my child.
Oh,
He's
he's breathing heavily. Oh, here he is.
You gonna wave?
Hello, nephew.
But yeah, so yeah, but we'll hopefully try and get some more throughout the rest of the season anyway, especially coming into the playoff times as well. But yeah, that's all for this week. Don't forget to tune in to Sport Tank to watch the live games, and we'll see you next time.
Don't take offense to everything we say. We're not right all the time. We know that, but we have an opinion.
Yeah.
Catch you after, folks.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.